Hello and welcome to another 2 Network match report with me, Adam. It's the first one of the 2018-19 season. We've just beaten St Patrick's Athletic 2-0 on their ground. Goals from Sean Longstaff in the first half and a penalty from Christian Atsu in the second half rounded things off. Now, as with most pre-season friendlies, it's more about cohesion, it's more about fitness, it's more about just blowing out the cobwebs and trying to get a bit of fitness and a bit of sharpness ready for, and you know, as the next few fixtures will prove, hopefully against Hull and then away in Portugal to Porto and Braga, that you know, all that, you know, a bit of rest over summer will turn into a lot of match fitness, sharpness, cohesion, hopefully with some new players as well, although that's obviously a very contentious issue at the moment. Rafa Benitez in his pre-match comments today suggesting that there really isn't any money for him in terms of a budget, which quite rightly is making a lot of people go wild. And you know, with these pre-season friendlies, you often get a lot of youngsters sort of filling up the squad and getting some match day experience with a lot of the senior players. But which is obviously a really positive thing, and hopefully, you know, if Rafa can find a couple of gems from the under 23s that he feels he can promote, that he feels that could push for a place in his squad, then it might mean, you know, not having to buy as many players in the summer transfer market and putting all of the limited resources that we're going to have into the positions that we really need to strengthen, such as a striker. I mean, it's just paramount. It's absolutely critical. So, you know, the starting lineup had a lot of youngsters. Sean Longstaff, the leggy Longstaff, in the centre of the park with Diame. You had winger Victor Fernandez actually playing right back, which was quite interesting, very pacey, probably similar sort of pace and build to Yedlin, but maybe about as effective as a defender. I'm not sure. I don't think he was tested massively today in the half that he had. You had Yanni alongside Lejeune. Manquillo started at left back. Darla was in goal, start of the game, and then you had Aarons on the left, Richie on the right, and Perez and Hosselu through the middle. So actually it was a relatively senior attack that we had, that we start the game with, and you know, it was I thought the passing was relatively tidy. I think for most of the first half, there was a couple of shots. Hosselu tried to curl one in from outside the box with his wrong foot, which was close but didn't quite cut it. I thought Richie looked quite sharp. Aarons as well didn't see as much of the ball as Richie did, but he seemed like he was on his game. Longstaff had a couple of nice touches, but there was a couple of occasions I thought Longstaff was just bullied off the ball a bit too easy, and maybe that's down to experience. I'm not sure, but for somebody of his size and frame, I think he needs to be a bit more commanding in that central position. But again, these are the games where he can learn his craft. He can crack on and hopefully develop his skill set. So we had a few reasonable attacks in the first half. Richie seemed to be at the heart of most of them, but there was a really incisive breakaway with a Jose Perez, who just kind of tried to feed it to the right-hand side for Hosselu, but it seemed to have gone too far wide. Hosselu tried to cross it in, it then came back out wide. Richie got involved, and then the ball fell to Longstaff, who cracked an absolutely fantastic shot from just probably on the edge of the box with his left foot in off the right-hand post. And that was 1-0 to Newcastle, and I think it was just before half time, and I think it was probably pretty well deserved actually, all in. I think I think we played with a bit more intensity. I mean, they did have chances themselves in the first half. I know that straight after we scored, they flashed across across the face of goal. Darlow ended up getting injured. I mean, it didn't matter too much in that respect because it was likely he was going to be replaced anyway at half time. Matt Sells ended up coming on anyway, but it just kind of showed that St Patrick's weren't just going to be a complete walkover, and they weren't. I think they provided us with reasonable opposition. Obviously, the quality is always going to be questionable from a lower league with lower standards, but they certainly weren't making up the numbers. I think they battled hard, but in the second half, the likes of Shelvey and Kennedy, Yedlin, Dwight Gale, Sells, as I've mentioned, came on. Kieran Clark, young Callum Roberts at left back came on, and Diarmi come off as well. But Longstaff stayed on, and Yanni as well. And I think in that second half, and Atsu I think came on for Richie as well. And in that second half, I just think the quality of Kennedy and the quality of Shelvey really made themselves apparent. I think just their touches. I mean, Shelvey was already trying to get his eye in terms of spraying balls around. And sorry, there's flies buzzing in my face, and I'm currently in an undisclosed woodland location. So such is my commitment to the Newcastle cause, getting bugs in my face. But I think Shelvey was really trying to get his eye in and get those balls arrowed, across the pitch. And some of them came off, some of them didn't. But he was wanting to get involved. He was keen to be at the heart of everything. Positive for Newcastle. Kennedy as well. And what impressed me about Kennedy is that he provided a lot of protection for young Roberts, given that he has played at left back before, so his defensive work is renowned as well. And we saw a bit of the Kennedy pizzazz as well, a few flicks and tricks, but I just think he was very, very positive in that final third, and he really tried to make things happen. Whereas Shelvey would make things happen by passing it long, Kennedy had his dribbling and was able to breach lines by doing so. Atsu looked busy. He had a shot that sort of like was deflected over, and it was really nice when Kennedy went over to take that corner. He just give a little touch on the shoulder of encouragement to Atsu. It's good for morale, I think, that kind of thing. And Atsu obviously lost his place to Kennedy last season, and I think Atsu is a player who we probably do need to expect a bit more from as a senior player, who has so much pace to burn but often doesn't have that final ball or the intelligence, and sometimes the decision making is a bit questionable. But he looked busy tonight, and that was the important thing in the context of the game. And I was just really impressed with Shelvey and Kennedy. I think second half, I think Gale had a shot where Shelvey, little reverse pass behind him. Gale beat two men and just tried to curl it, a bit like Hosselu in the first half, just trying to curl it top corner, but just didn't get it quite right. But the player I've neglected to mention who came on was Adam Armstrong who came on for Jose Perez at half time, and he had bags of running tonight. His pace is electrifying, and you just wonder whether he could force his way. I mean, I still don't think so. I still think he will go out on loan. I still don't think he has the quality to be Premier League ready at the minute. I think if he was to storm it in the Championship on a loan this season, then maybe next season we might look at that. But I just don't think he's ready right now. But his pace was certainly a problem, and his movement as well was really impressive tonight, I thought. Something I've forgot to mention of the first half, Richie nearly got himself into a scuffle, like a proper fight. Like, he went in on a really, really tasty tackle on a defender, and there was a bit of like squaring up, and a few players got involved, and you just kind of wonder, does Richie feel like he's playing for his Newcastle career? He did have a reasonably effective first half, but that might be a serious, consideration for him, that he's maybe trying a bit too hard. But Armstrong in the second half was busy. Callum Roberts has loads of pace as well. Bombed up the left-hand side a couple of times. Towards the end of the game, Kennedy came close to score and had a little dribble, picked himself back up again and fired it across and keeper saved. But I've got to admit, the stream cut out for me before I was able to see the penalty. I've since seen the actual conversion by Atsu on Twitter, thanks to a spectator who recorded it there at the ground. But not great when you're paying for a game and the website cuts out. That's pretty basic stuff, lads. If you're watching anybody from Newcastle United Football Club, maybe get that sorted out for a few of the more high-profile pre-season friendlies, because that's not great. And look, in the basics, in the context of pre-season friendlies and blooding youngsters, it's really good. I think 20 players were used tonight, which is, you just want fitness, you just want game time, you want to just be back into the swing of things. But you do worry that with the limited budget that Rafa Benitez is going to have, as I mentioned before, that are we going to have to rely on a lot of these young players? Like, usually it's, it wouldn't have so much significance, but tonight, and with the comments that Rafa Benitez made about the transfer budget, like, are we just going to have to make do with what we have in the under-23s? I hope not. That's not a slur against them, but it's like, it's very hard to gauge their quality in a pre-season friendly against, lesser opposition, and a game that kind of lacked intensity, really, which most pre-season friendlies do. I'm hoping we'll see a bit more of a test against Hull, and obviously over in Portugal with Porto and Braga. But it's telling, isn't it? And it's concerning. It's concerning times. There's not long left for the get out. There's not long left to the end of the window as well, and there just seems to be this impasse between Rafa Benitez and Mike Ashley. Mike Ashley won't release funds until Rafa commits himself to the club. Rafa Benitez won't commit himself to the club until Ashley releases funds, and rightly so. We've basically, are we 6 million up at the minute? That's ridiculous. We've had 120 million come in TV money, and we're not seeing it. There's plenty of people on Twitter saying, "Where's the money, Mike?" Fair question, fair comment, because a club of our size, of our history, and the fact that there's only so much that you can blame a year, the relegation on. We've earned a lot of money last season, and other clubs are borrowing against guaranteed money. Like, there's no risk because the money is guaranteed. Mike Ashley doesn't operate like that. He doesn't want to. If he wanted to, he could, and he could give Rafa 40-50 million today and say, right, finish the squad off, and we do fantastic. We get some great targets in. Instead, we're looking at cut price deals, we're looking at loan deals, and we're obviously looking at our academy players as well. So it's grim times at the minute. I hope things change, but as a Newcastle United fan, I think it's fairly obvious that we can expect to get disappointed. But anyway, a really good start of pre-season, a win under our belt, a clean sheet, lots of players getting a run out as well. Longstaff, I think he seems to have the right kind of attributes. He's tall, good in the air, he's leggy, he's got a good frame, sort of like a Patrick Vieira kind of physique, I guess, for the centre of the park. So I'd like to see more of him, to see if he can up his game against tougher opposition. I don't think we'll know until that happens, but encouraging nevertheless. And pleasing to see Kennedy back out there after a summer of uncertainty. But he was on the pitch, great to see him there, and Shelvey as well, just a cut above, I think, really different class. Thanks very much. I've been Adam of the 2 Network. This has been another match report. It's finished Newcastle 2, St Patrick's Athletic 0, and we'll be leaving Ireland very, very happy indeed. Catch me again for more pre-season friendly match reports. Of course, subscribe on YouTube. We're on SoundCloud and iTunes as well, and come and find us on Facebook and Twitter, of course, as well. We'll see you soon. Thanks very much. Bye-zy-bye.